feel like we're besties now after this. What's up, guys? It's Denise Salcedo. Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It is Denise. Welcome to Speak Now Pro Wrestling. It is May 24th. We are going to be chatting about NXT 2.0. First and foremost, welcome everybody to the show. Today, we officially begin our sponsorship with Wrestle Rumble. Wrestle Rumble will officially be sponsoring this podcast, Speak Now Pro Wrestling, on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, basically every single time that we are on, starting today and going for the next couple of months. We'll talk more about that later. Just know that the links in the description box to give our sponsors some love are there in the description box below. But we do have an episode of NXT 2.0 to get into, and usually I like to kick off these shows with a rough summary of how I felt about the show. You know, hey, the show was good, the show was half good, this and that. Today, I feel very like I could have missed this episode of NXT 2.0 because absolutely nothing of note occurred on this show here today. And that bums me out because if you're here listening to this podcast, you're like, what the hell, Denise? What are you going to talk about if nothing of note happened on the show? I have no idea. I mean, there's definitely things we're going to discuss because at the end of the day, we're going to run down the show. We're going to talk about what went down, the nothingness that went down, and go through all of that. But there were some things that I kind of, unfortunately, today where I'm like, yeah, you know, it was fine. There was more good things than there were, you know, lame things. I think today I kind of felt like we had a little bit of more of the stuff that I had zero interest in versus the stuff that I actually had interest in. I think there's one storyline right now on NXT, maybe one and a half of stuff that I'm actually invested in for this show. So unfortunately, I would say that this one was probably on the scale of my least favorite shows that we've seen so far from NXT 2.0. But we're going to go ahead and get right into all of that here today. Before we do, just to let you guys know, this is a very interactive stream. If this is your first time here, hello and welcome. Take part in the stream. If you are a regular, well, then you already know what to do. You already know how this thing works, everybody. So let's get to this. So we're going to kick things off with our opening match, was just probably my favorite thing of the night. Like this was definitely on the good side of things that we got on NXT 2.0. And this was Malik Blade and Idris Enofi, who I legitimately have been a fan of both of these guys since they came into NXT 2.0. They're guys that you don't really hear very many people talk about. They sort of go under the radar, but they're pretty good. Like they're perfectly fine. I like them as a tag team together, and I've been rooting for them on the show. And they're going up against Tony D'Angelo's guys, which today was the first time that I even knew their names. I don't even know if they said them before on NXT 2.0, and I watch the show every week. But it's Channing Tatum. Not Channing Tatum. All right, if it was Channing Tatum, we'd have plenty to talk about here today. Channing Stacks Lorenzo and Troy Two Dimes Donovan are the names of the guys that have been with Tony D'Angelo. And first and foremost, I want to say that these guys, ever since they, started appearing alongside Tony D'Angelo, have legitimately been adding a whole lot to his act. So I like them. I like how much they add to the whole act. It makes sense to me. They have pretty good personalities from what we've seen. They haven't done anything that made them feel like lame or made them feel like anything non-important, right? They've been good. I've been enjoying them from what we've seen. Their parts haven't been too major, but you know what? They ain't hurting anybody. So they went into this match with Malik and Idris, and I want to put Malik and Idris over here because they went out there. They had some really good spots in there. I liked a lot of what they did, and I think they had a pretty fun matchup tonight with Tony D'Angelo's guys. So the other thing that I want to talk about in regards to this match, aside from it actually being fun and entertaining and probably the best match that we saw the entire night, or at least one of, because there was another match that I did really like. I like that we're getting for the most part, two new teams that are adding depth to the tag team division on NXT. Malik and Idris, they've been teaming for a bit, but for the most part, they are still a new team and they are still adding depth to the tag team division. So I got to say that that's definitely a pro. Like, we got more pros out of this than cons. So I like this. This was good. Obviously, Tony D'Angelo's guys, they get the win, as they should, since this was their, like, official coming out party as a team and actually wrestling a match here. So I like this. Afterwards, we had this brawl between Tony D'Angelo's guys and Legado del Fantasma, and the storytelling that we've been seeing here the last couple of weeks with this whole mafia mob story that they've been telling. It's been my favorite thing that we have been getting from NXT. I've been loving all of the vignettes. The vignettes have been great. Santos Escobar's work has been phenomenal. His character work has been on point. Same thing for Tony D'Angelo. This is even though we joke around of all the kidnappings that go down in the NXT parking lot and all of that. At the end of the day, this has been my favorite thing to watch on NXT right now. I feel like this is the only thing that they're actually getting right each and every single week. So I do want to put that over because I did enjoy this. So thumbs up for the opening of the show, and that was legitimately probably the peak of it here. Cadillac Carson has a funny comment saying, Channing Tatum in NXT, and you said nothing happened on tonight's show? Dude, for reals, can you imagine Channing Tatum? This always happens, though. Remember when with freaking Elektra Lopez? It took me like 2 weeks. I kept calling her Carmen Electra. Dude. Like these, Vince is always talking about how people can't have like the same name and all of this. Having the same name or like close to the same name as a celebrity messes me up more than anything else. And let's get some thoughts in here, guys. We're getting a lot of different things here going down, but I think for the most part, I know we're going to talk about Nikita Lyons in just a second, so we'll get to that because that's probably going to be the biggest topic of the night. All right, but let's go ahead and move on because after this, we got Wes Lee versus Sanga. Man, I feel bad. I feel bad for Wes Lee ever since the breakup of MSK, ever since the drama that had Nash Carter released from the company. It has been nothing but downhill for Wes Lee. He started off with MSK and NXT when MSK made their official NXT debut. We had them really get pushed as a young, new, hot team. Okay, they won the titles fairly quickly. They had, unfortunately, this rough period where the fans were sort of rejecting them. Then they did all of this shaman stuff with Matt Riddle. Then they finally started wrestling a little bit more, and they were finally getting cheered from the crowd, and things were starting to get going again for MSK. And then all of this other drama went down, and so Nash Carter's gone. Wes Lee is here, trying to find something really to do on the roster. I think it was 2 weeks ago or a couple weeks ago, I was talking about like what they were actually doing with Wes Lee. And for a minute, I thought, okay, they're going to be doing some sort of tropical gimmick with him based on what we were seeing. And then after that, he's getting beat by Zion Quinn. Then he's supposed to have a rematch with Zion Quinn. It doesn't happen. And then he gets tossed by Von Wagner out of nowhere. Last week, so he comes in here today. He's selling the ribs. He's all taped up, etc. And he's in this match with Sanga. And Sanga, for the most part, he's been every single big guy that you can imagine. There's been nothing different about Sanga. But I will say this. In comparison to all the other big guys that we've been seeing like on the main roster, I think Sanga is personally one of my favorites. And I said this the last time we saw him on NXT because at least Sanga brings like some sort of level of intensity when he goes out there. So I appreciate that from Sanga. But let's be real. Wes Lee went from holding tag team gold to being squashed by like pretty much every big guy on NXT. Zion Quinn, Von Wagner, and now Sanga. Sanga literally tossing Wes Lee during this match like he's a rag doll. And I get it, you know, he's not necessarily 100%. He's not completely healthy. I get all of that. We get it. But things have seriously gone downhill for Wes Lee to the point where I'm like, man, I feel like they saw him as something when he was in a duo, when he came in a package, but by himself, it's not looking good for Wes Lee. In fact, it's looking worse each and every single week for Wes Lee. I feel like they're not, it's going to be a while until we see him in a similar sort of respectable spot like he was when he was a tag team champion. So unfortunately, things have gone downhill for Wes Lee. Afterwards, Zion Quinn comes out. Sanga ends up helping out Wes Lee, even gives him a hug, and it kind of made him look like a child when he's out there with Sanga getting hugged and protected because Zion Quinn is coming through. So this is unfortunately not that great. Man, and we got Bonkers IFC saying Sanga is better than Omaz. Honestly, like in terms of here's the thing, like they have these big guys coming out and they all have them do the same thing, the roar and that's literally what they have all the big guys do. If you're going to do it, might as well really do it, okay? And Sanga goes out there when he actually puts something into it. We see Omaz go out there, he's like, God. This is a terrible way to describe this, but legitimately, that is what it is. So I will say that I think even though we've seen less of Sanga, I feel like we have gotten a little bit more from the less that we've seen when you compare to Commander Aziz, when you compare to Omaz. Those are the only two that I can think of right now. Currently, Veer's different. I see Veer differently than Omaz and Commander Aziz. Like Veer, the whole running joke for months was that he was coming, right? And he hadn't came and this and that. And he essentially became one big giant sex joke. And so I don't know, maybe that landed a soft spot in my heart for Veer. But legitimately, since he's came back, it hasn't been like too terrible for Veer. They've actually been, giving him his wins. He comes out there, he looks dominant, he's killing people. They need to actually have him, speak in terms of just having to go out there and make sound effects. They could definitely change that, but I wouldn't compare Veer to Commander Aziz or Omaz. I feel like it's two different things. But then again, I am the number one fan of the Veer. I'm the number one Veer fan. Hell, I'm starting a fan club for Veer, so I'm a little bit more biased. I'm not going to let anybody bury Veer. But no, for reals. In all honesty, I feel bad for Wes Lee. It's not looking good for him. Let's get some comments in here and see what people are saying. Dan Pariah says Sanga's polite in backstage segments. I found that funny too. You know what? Sometimes you don't even have, there's certain people can get away with not saying much and being like just a figure, and they could be funny sometimes like that. It's fine. All right, let's get some more comments in here and see what people are saying. Let's get some thoughts in here. This is from Scoucher Boy, who says, wasn't Nash Carter let go because of the allegations? What about all the allegations about Vince? And as far as Carter dressing as Hitler, WWE renamed Walter after a German U-boat captain. I mean, that is true about Gunther Stark or Gunther Starks? Regardless, that was a whole thing for a while. But yes, Nash Carter was let go mainly because of those reasons and that photo of him basically emanating Hitler. And that's a whole other story for another time. So I feel like that's like not even the point right now. But I do feel bad for Wes Lee. And all right, let's get some more comments in here. We actually have a super chat. Thank you so much to Sheldon Jackson, who sends one in saying, so you can support Veer but not chase you, shaking my damn head. Yes, I can, and I'll tell you why. All right, like I said, Veer got over with me. All right, sue me. He got over with me, and Chase U has not. They've had like maybe 2 weeks where I've like ha-ha'd a little bit, where I LOL'd just a tad, but I feel like a bigger Veer fan. If I'm gonna compare the two, I'm a bigger Veer fan than Chase U. But I know how the chat here feels about Andre Chase and Chase University. I realize that the Andre Chase stands are hot and heavy here on the chat. Thank you so much to Sheldon Jackson. All right. And Chris Cage 2X says, and that's a teachable moment. Man. All right. Let's continue on from here. After this, we got Alba Fire versus Elektra Lopez. Not Carmen Electra, but Elektra Lopez. And so here's the thing, and this is going to sound really dumb, because when I say, oh, Alba Fire is so cool, and Alba Fire is, to me, she's getting over with me, etc., it's going to sound dumb, because when she was Kaylee Ray, she was getting over with me just as much. To me, she's sort of still the exact same person. She just has a different name. There's a little bit more fire to her. There's a little bit of some difference in her. But for the most part, she's pretty much the same, in my opinion. Alba Fire, man, I think that she's cool as hell, but she was cool as Kaylee Ray too. But I do like what she's bringing to the table. Like, if you're going, she has the entire packaging right now, in terms of she looks different. You buy what she does in the ring, her character, she has personality, all of that Alba Fire brings to the table. And then Elektra Lopez has been doing good for her part with Legado del Fantasma. Okay. We don't see her. I don't see her in the same nature that I see Alba Fire in terms of their in-ring capabilities. But in terms of the character, Elektra Lopez is nailing what she's supposed to be doing on the show, on the programming. So with this being it, I did like this match. It was perfectly fine. Alba Fire gets in there. For the finish, we see her hit a headbutt. She hits her swanton. She gets the win. This was a good victory for Alba Fire. And the reason I say that is because Elektra Lopez is actually somebody that's been featured on NXT. Alba Fire could have literally wrestled some nobody and gotten a win. But her actually defeating somebody that is, featured on the show means a little bit more. So I did like this. I did like Alba Fire coming out here and getting this win for the night. It was good. After the match, we see Elektra Lopez go after Cora Jade. Cora Jade was on the outside during this entire match. So they've been beefing. I think since last week, they've been having a little bit of some beef between both girls. And so Elektra Lopez is sort of blaming Cora Jade for causing this distraction, even though she technically didn't distract her, as she was kind of just there, but she didn't actually do anything. But Elektra Lopez is still putting the blame on Cora Jade. So I did like that. Good win for Alba Fire. I mean, for the most part, I don't think that this hurt anybody. This didn't hurt anybody at all. And let's see what people are saying here, guys. And this is from Dan, who says, the Bat on Flames for Alba's entrance was a nice touch. She rocks that look. She does. I agree. I think that she does a really, really good. Dooley Lomo says, I wish I can say Legado del Fantasma as elegantly as Denise. Maybe if you listen to me say it enough, eventually it'll stick. It'll stick for you, It'll stick there. And also shout out to Daniel Rodriguez for this very kind comment. I read it really fast, but I read it, man. All right. And I'm reading all these comments here about Chase U. I really triggered the chat, man. All the Andre Chase stands coming after me. All right. So now let's actually get into my favorite part of today's show. And you want to know what it is? Let's do this. It is our first live read for Wrestle Rumble. The new sponsors here on Speak Now Pro Wrestling, my first sponsors ever on this show. I'm so excited to promote them, and this is why. All right, you don't have to be in Las Vegas to win some money. Put your wrestling predictions to the test. Head on over to WrestleRumble.com and enter the Pick'em contest ahead of AEW Double or Nothing. Not only do you get to have some extra fun, but you also have a chance of winning $1,000. How it works is you go to the website, you purchase entries, and answer prop questions. Questions like, will the MJF versus Wardlow match go over or under 16 minutes? Or which individual will win the pinfall or submission victory in the Young Bucks versus the Hardy Boys match? A bunch of different questions just like that. The person who gets the most points, who gets the most right, will end up going home with $1,000. The cutoff time to enter on WrestleRumble.com is Sunday the 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Do not, I mean seriously, do not miss your chance to make some extra money. Visit WrestleRumble.com or at WrestleRumble on Instagram and or Twitter for more info. Link in the description box below. And of course, I will be doing a giveaway at some point this week. I believe on Thursday, I'm going to give away some free entries to people. But if you guys want to enter, have a little extra fun, man, especially this pay-per-view with Double or Nothing happening in Las Vegas. You know, Las Vegas is known for gambling. Go out there. Put it on the line. All right, let's continue on from here. Let's get into this NXT Women's Breakout Tournament because some changes were made and we have some updates here. But before we get to that, Cadillac Carson sends in a super chat saying, "Oh, the first sponsor live read, and we were all here to witness it." Oh man, I forgot what I was gonna say. I got so choked up. I'm excited, guys. Hopefully this ends up being a long partnership, but I seriously just appreciate Wrestle Rumble a whole lot for even giving me this chance to come out here and promote them. Thank you so much to Cadillac Carson for the kind comment. Now, let's talk about this tournament. So things have definitely changed just a tad. So we had Roxanne Perez versus Lash Legend. And this was, I said this last week and I said this the week before, Roxanne Perez, to me, is the person that should be winning this tournament. From the very beginning, I thought she's the person that should be winning this tournament because they have a possible star in the making. She's legitimately liked. People want to root for her. People want to see cool stuff happen for Roxanne Perez. She already developed a fan base prior to NXT when she was Roxy, you know, doing her thing and all of that good stuff. And so easily, she, I think, was the favorite to come out winning in this tournament. Now, for a bit there, a lot of people were expecting it to be Lash Legend versus Nikita Lyons because they've been beefing for a bit on NXT, and for the most part, it made sense because Nikita Lyons is a babyface and Lash Legend is a heel. Now, Roxanne Perez ended up beating Lash Legend in this match. This was a very, very simple match. We saw Lash Legend, you know, she's a tall girl, huge size advantage over Roxanne Perez, who's a lot tinier. So we saw that play out in the match. But for the actual finish, we saw Lash Legend pick her up like she was going to do a powerbomb. And instead, Roxanne Perez gets her with the pop rocks and ends up getting the win. And I thought, hell freaking yes, Roxanne Perez wins this. So I was very, very happy to see this. Now, we do have to talk about the changes, though. So she advances, but we have to talk about the changes on the other side of the bracket because they announced on NXT here tonight that Nikita Lyons was out due to injury. So she was no longer going to be able to take part in this tournament. Now, instead, we had Tiffany Stratton replace her. And so it was Tiffany Stratton versus Fallon Henley. And this was not a bad match. Let me tell you, I think that this was probably my second favorite match of the night. I thought both ladies did a good job. Tiffany Stratton has definitely improved. Her character's improving every week. In-ring wise, she's improving every week. Fallon Henley, she has a lot of energy. She's very likable, and she is definitely also doing her part in the ring as well. So what you had here was two girls that did a pretty good job in this match. I was a fan of this. Tiffany ends up getting the win. She ends up doing a springboard into a corkscrew splash, and that's how she ends up getting the win here. Now, it's going to be Tiffany Stratton and Roxanne Perez in the finals. I'm going to bring up this chart here because this is what we got now for this tournament. Tiffany Stratton versus Roxanne Perez. And here's the thing. Now, I don't know. I'm assuming this Nikita Lyons injury thing is storyline unless some news breaks eventually. I do think that this is storyline as of right now. And it seems to me that the reason they did this was because they kind of worked themselves into a position where this wasn't a heel versus a babyface. If they were going to have if they wanted Roxanne Perez to win, her only other options were Fallon Henley and Nikita Lyons. And both Fallon and Nikita Lyons are baby faces. So it would have been babyface versus babyface in the finals. And that was something that we discussed last week. And so that's why so many people thought that it was going to be Nikita and Lash Legend. So it seems to me like they didn't want the finals to be Nikita Lyons versus Roxanne Perez, which makes sense. They didn't want to have Nikita Lyons get beat by Fallon Henley because they are pushing Nikita Lyons. She has gotten over with the people. But it seems to me that they wanted to go with Roxanne Perez to actually win this tournament. So they kind of had to make some tweaks and some changes. So this kind of feels a little obvious, but we kind of saw this we saw this well in advance. It seems that they could have, definitely reworked some things here to make it a little bit more fitting for the story that they might have wanted to tell. So that's where we're at with the women's breakout tournament. So let's see what people are saying here. Kyler James says her submission was very creative. I agree with that as well. Zeno Hour says Roxanne Perez versus Tiffany Stratton should be pretty good. And Brandon Rosen says, what's wrong with face versus face? I don't think they wanted to do it. I don't think they wanted to do it. And let's get some more comments in here. This one's from Dan, who says, commentary said that the tournament's winner gets a title match of their choosing. Don't know why, but I can see Roxanne tagging with Cora and choosing a women's tag team title match. Given the fact that they've been, bonding, they've been showing them, talking about their friendship in the past, and we've been seeing that on NXT. I have a feeling that they may go that direction, especially because here's the thing. I don't think that it's too soon for Roxanne Perez to become NXT Women's Champion. In fact, I would like it because I want them to sort of break the cycle a little bit. I feel like things have become very, very predictable on when you can expect somebody to be a champion. And I almost want to be surprised. When we had Pretty Deadly, they came in and they won the NXT championships. I mean, we saw it coming, right? Especially with the last minute changes and all of that with the MSK. But it was exciting to see a team on NXT 2.0. I know they weren't technically new because they were on NXT UK and they were former NXT UK champions. I get all of that. But for the NXT 2.0 audience, it still felt new, and instantly you put Pretty Deadly on the map for those viewers. And so I would like them to do something like that for the women. And I don't recall and I could be, forgetting something right now, but I don't recall the last time they did this for the women where they brought somebody in and had them win and easily skyrocket them to the top versus having to go through the traditional path. I feel like you can make certain, you don't have to make everything identical. I remember for the longest time, one of the things that we were also talking about here on NXT 2.0 in the past was, not NXT 2.0, when it was NXT, the black and gold brand, was when Frankie Monet, when she came in, and everybody, knows Taya Valkyrie and knows that she can go. And when she came in and she had that confrontation with Raquel right off the bat, it was exciting because you're like, okay, they're skyrocketing Frankie Monet to the top. They didn't end up doing it in the end, but people wanted to see that. I think you have to kind of sometimes break the cycle a little bit, add a little bit of element of surprise, get people, riled up, where you're like, holy shit, this girl is new, and bam, she just won the tournament, and bam, she just won the championship. Same thing with Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes, he won the NXT Breakout tournament, and then he later became the NXT North American champion. Carmelo Hayes was going out there having bomb matches. His reign ended, but regardless, I think he had a pretty decent reign for the NXT 2.0 era of the NXT North American Championship. So I do hope that they do something like that for Roxanne Perez, but I could see them going the direction, like the viewer just mentioned right now about Dan, about them essentially going the tag team route. And let's get some more comments in here, guys. This one's from Cameron Mumford, who says, there is no doubt Roxanne wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tiffany wins because they love taking who the fans love and do the opposite to piss us off. Yeah, and I get it. I think that this, Roxanne Perez should win this. I don't like Tiffany Stratton is really good. And her character is definitely getting better every week. But I just think that Roxanne Perez is still the person that should win this tournament. And now let's continue on from here. So we got into all of this stuff about the NXT Women's Breakout Tournament. Now let's get into Indi Hartwell versus Mandy Rose. So this was a non-title match. And this all basically went down because Indi Hartwell, basically without saying it, Dexter Lumis is gone. She's gone. She's just left there. She has no man anymore. And so Mandy Rose was bullying her backstage and making fun of her because she said that no man would leave Mandy Rose. And I mean, let's be real. No man would leave Mandy Rose. I agree with that too. But so obviously Indi Hartwell is going to take offense to this. And this is how this whole beef between Mandy and Indi Hartwell started. So we ended up having this match. It was an okay match. It was okay. We ended up having a distraction on the outside with Toxic Attraction and Gacy and Kaden on the outside. They start brawling. This distraction causes Mandy Rose to end up getting Indi Hartwell with the boot to the face. She gets the win. And I was perfectly fine with this. In no NXT 2.0 realm of things should Indi Hartwell be defeating Mandy Rose. Indi Hartwell is not at the same level of Mandy Rose. And I'm not just saying that like, oh, because she's not at the same level. No, it's more so the story that they've been telling with Indi Hartwell. The story that they've been telling with Indi Hartwell tells us that she's not on the same level as Mandy Rose. Mandy Rose is our NXT champion. And she's, for the most part, has fought and kept her title, etc., right? And Indi Hartwell, prior to this, was doing all of these silly nonsense stuff with Persia Pirotta and Duke Hudson and Dexter Lumis. And then prior to this, she was in a tag team with Persia Pirotta, but we never really got to see her wrestle. She was just standing there and she was more of a character versus an actual, she was more of a character on the show. Like, I feel people who watch the show knew her more for her storylines versus her in-ring work. That's what I'm trying to get at. So with that being said, because of everything that they did prior with Indi Hartwell, I didn't see her as a legitimate competitor to Mandy Rose based on the stories that they've been telling on NXT 2.0. So with that being said, Mandy Rose getting the win, even if it was with the help of a distraction, makes sense with Mandy Rose being a heel. And again, Mandy Rose getting the win. It's fine. That's exactly what they needed to do. Post-match, Wendy Chu, throws a bunch of balls from her ball sack to Mandy Rose. And if you're watching this and you're like, Denise, did you really say ball sack? Don't blame me. Wendy Chu said it first. She said this on the air. She said ball sack. So I was not the first person here to say it. I'm just using Wendy Chu's own words. But with her ball sack, she throws a bunch of balls on Mandy Rose. And the champ gets taken out by a bunch of balls. I get it. I mean, this looks very, very silly. I kind of hated this, to be honest. Like, I like Wendy Chu. I get the character. I've loved a lot of the stuff that she did. But I don't want to see the women's champion get taken down by a bunch of balls. I can't get behind Mandy Rose in that situation. Like, she's the champion. I'm not going to get behind her when there's a bunch of balls being thrown at her. And I get it. If someone threw me a ball right now, I'd knock the hell out. But this looked really, really corny. Really, really corny just to see her thrown there and a bunch of balls falling on her. It was very, very corny. So I wasn't too big of a fan of this. Later on, Mandy goes on a tangent about how she's sick and tired of Wendy Chu and she's this little girl and she is a grown-ass woman. And I mean, really, who can disagree with that? All right. Oh, man. This chat. I knew these comments would come up with the balls. Oh, God. Oh, man. Cadillac Carson says, hope no one takes this video out of context. God, I hope not. I really hope not. This is a comment from Nika Latino 81 who says, the backstage segment with Gacy Caden, love them getting a shot at the gold. Long overdue. Also, Wendy Chu made me laugh so hard when she's attacking Mandy with a sack of balls. Yeah, I agree with you on Gacy and Caden, definitely. They are a good tag team, and I feel like they've been overlooked. And they are a good tag team, and they deserve a little bit more razzle dazzle. I can't come up with I'm just making up words now, guys. I saw Chicago when I was in New York, so razzle dazzle was in my brain. It was just in there. It was in there. By the way, I appreciate the comments here because they're pretty damn funny. Sheldon Jackson says, that's what she said. All righty. Let's see what else we got after this. Man, ball sacks. And we're moving on to Joe Gacy and Bron Breakker. My least favorite story on NXT 2.0, and it just gets worse. All right, so we're going to talk about it really quickly. Then we're going to go on to something else, and then we'll return back to this. So just know that throughout NXT, Joe Gacy continues to get into the mind of Bron Breakker. He does so by pulling out a picture from his past and putting it in his locker. And then he plays a clip from Bron Breakker playing football. And oh my God, he's getting in his head. Man, maybe Joe Gacy just went through a rabbit hole of his social media accounts. Maybe he found his old Facebook page. Maybe he found his old MySpace. Actually, I don't know. Would Bron Breakker be on MySpace? How old is Bron Breakker? I don't know if he was around in the MySpace days, if he was like at the appropriate age for MySpace days. I don't know. But the point is, it is so dumb. You're getting mind games with somebody putting a picture of you on your locker. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not a fan of this. It just keeps getting worse. I hate it. All right. We'll talk about this more in just a second. Let's move on. Let's talk about Nikita Knight, the former Nikita Knight, who's now going by Thea Hale. She's going to be making her debut next week on NXT 2.0. She's only 18 years old. Good for her. Rooting for her. Von Wagner versus Ike Manjiro. Absolutely nobody cares about this. This was a nothing match. Von Wagner wins. I don't even have anything to say about it. Next week, we're going to be having Cameron Grimes versus Nathan Frazier. That should be a good match. I'm looking forward to that. Cora Jade versus Elektra Lopez. Looking forward to it too. NXT In Your House matches that have been announced. Cameron Grimes versus Carmelo Hayes for the NXT Championship. Pretty Deadly versus the Creed Brothers for the NXT Tag Titles. That should be good too. Bron Breakker versus Joe Gacy. It's going to be stupendous. Katana Chance and Caden versus Toxic Attraction. Should be a good time. Giovanni Vinci, who a lot of people are assuming is the former Fabian Eichner, is going to be coming soon. I don't know if it's Fabian Eichner, but that's who a lot of people are guessing that it's going to be. But Giovanni Vinci, an Italian wrestler, is going to be coming soon. Now, back to Bron Breakker and Joe Gacy. We had Bron Breakker versus Duke Hudson. And Duke Hudson is in the same lines of Indi Hartwell, where the last couple of weeks, he hasn't been portrayed as a top guy, as a top player. He's been more in the character stuff and the ha-ha, trying to be funny portions of the show. So personally, I can't take Duke Hudson seriously as a competitor to Bron Breakker during this because of what we've been seeing from him the last couple of weeks on NXT 2.0. How he has been portrayed to us, the viewers. He hasn't been portrayed as a top, oh my God, he legitimately has a chance against Bron Breakker kind of guy. No. He's not been an intimidating factor. That's what I'm trying to get at. I know Joe Gacy was out there. I know they had the whole, the guys with the coats and all of that. I know they had all that going on. But regardless, Bron Breakker not only got himself DQ'd in this match by using a chair, but he was also kind of being dominated in a huge portion of this match by Duke Hudson. And like I said, Duke Hudson the last several weeks hasn't been portrayed as a legitimate intimidating factor on the show. And he's coming out and he is essentially He's essentially dominating your champion, your NXT champion, Bron Breakker. So for me, I just could not buy this whatsoever. I couldn't buy it. I legitimately just could not buy it. And then Bron Breakker getting himself DQ'd and then being like, what? He had the what face? I got DQ'd for using a chair? Yeah, you did. Duh. Everybody knows the rules here. So Duke Hudson gets the win. This has just been this has made Bron every week. I feel like it can get worse for Bron Breakker in terms of the storytelling for him. And every week it does. The smoke and mirror stuff, it's not working here. And I don't know what to say. I feel like every week I come on here and I say the same thing about this. And every week I think, okay, things are gonna change. Things are gonna be different. It's the same thing. It's the same thing every week with Joe Gacy and Bron Breakker. I feel bad for Bron Breakker because I think it's losing a lot of that aura that he had when he came in. Like, I remember when Bron Breakker first came in to NXT 2.0, and I would go on Twitter, and he was literally always a trending topic. People were talking about Bron Breakker. People were talking about him. I don't see the same thing anymore on NXT. That's not to say, on Twitter, excuse me. That's not to say no one's talking about it. They're just not talking about it, talking about him the way they were before. With a guy like that, a guy like Bron Breakker, you need to portray him as a badass, not a goofball, a badass. And right now, I'm just not getting badass vibes. I'm getting goofball. Goofball. You're being scared. You're a big buff guy and you're being scared by mirrors and some guy showing your picture in a locker. What? No. So I'm just not a fan of what they've been doing with Bron Breakker. Kind of like Carson says, let's just agree to skip all the Joe Gacy stuff, even if he's challenging for the title. Unfortunately, we have to talk about it, but I get you, man. I get you. M. Durrett says they really are preparing Bron for the main roster with this terrible creative. Oh, man. King of Hueco Mundo says Harland is gone and Gacy's power couldn't save him. Tony says Gacy needs to join Edge's House of Purple. I mean, Judgment Day. You know what? Joe Gacy, he would kind of fit in, but I would hope that they drop the whole, they would have to tweak him a little bit. Tweak him a little bit and he would fit into Judgment Day. No, maybe not. No, you know what? Scratch that. I get it. They're all emo. I get it, but nah, you know what? Now that I think about it, I don't think it'd work. No. I just visualized it and I'm not a fan of it because the thing about Judgment Day is that they're supposed to be cool. You see Rhea Ripley, she legitimately looks freaking cool. Damian Priest looks freaking cool. Edge looks cool, but it's the talking that all of a sudden, like when they come out and they're being presented, all three of them, they look badass, right? Like they look cool. Like, oh damn, who are those guys? But then they get in the ring and Edge starts talking and you're like, oh, this is what I got excited for. So they look great. It's just the delivery of what's being said in the promos that's not necessarily top notch. So I don't think that Joe Gacy would fit in with the Judgment Day because he would have to look cool, you know, and they have to get him some sort of like a different outfit for it to work. I don't think he's got the outfit for it. I don't know what outfit he needs, but they would have to tweak that. Sheldon Jackson says, I feel like Bron's second reign is hurting the prestige of the NXT Championship, and this feud needs to be over for everyone's sake. They did a lot of hot potatoing the bout. Never works, at least in my opinion. And Jesus, it sucks, but what can I say? I was going to say, like, I agree that it does ruin the prestige of the NXT Championship, but I almost feel like that was a given already when they made the change to NXT 2.0. But then even then, like when Tommaso Ciampa was champion on NXT 2.0, it was a good time. Bron Breakker's like initial start was pretty all right. But then, everything with Dolph Ziggler and Bron Breakker, just too much back and forth, a lot of unnecessary changes that were done. And now you go right in, he gets the belt back, but then you go right into this feud with Joe Gacy, which I don't see very many people putting over. So it is hurting not only Bron Breakker, but also the NXT Championship, because you need to have a strong looking champion. Even if, even if 1 week, obviously you got to give the challenger something. You got to do that. But it's just not connecting. It's not connecting with Joe Gacy and Bron Breakker. It's not working. Brandon Rosen says, the whole smoke and mirrors gimmick is old and tired overall. No matter who is trying to pull it off, I just want to see two guys beat each other up. I can't disagree. Like, I feel like if you do the smoke and mirror stuff, it might work for some people. It might work in certain occasions. I'm not going to just like completely exit out, especially because I do think like some people like that stuff. I don't. It's never been for me, really. But I do agree with that. I just want to see guys beat each other up. I do agree with that. That's usually the best stuff right there. It's usually the best stuff. Alrighty. Oh shit, that's it. That's the show, everybody. That was NXT 2.0. I told you. That's all that happens. There isn't much. Every time when it's like a show that there isn't much, I think to myself, damn, how am I going to get more than 20 minutes out of this podcast? And that's a huge stressor of mine. And then I come on the show, and eventually it happens. So thank God. I'm just happy that I passed that 40-minute mark and was able to get something from the show. But before we go, just a friendly reminder, guys, I am back this Wednesday to talk AEW Dynamite. That's tomorrow. Come on in. It's going to be the go-home show heading into AEW Double or Nothing. This Friday, I will be flying out to Las Vegas. And I think I get there like sometime in the morning. I don't have going on? I don't have much going on Friday. Now that I think about it, no, I don't have much going on Friday, but I get there and I have like this big gap of time to fill. So I'll probably do God knows what. I don't know what I'll do. And then I have Rampage at night. And then, so I won't be here this Friday, but Saturday, I will be at the Q&A with Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez in Las Vegas. So I will be there. So if you're going to be there, come say hi. I will be there. And then immediately after that, I'm going to go to the AEW Fan Fest because I may or may not have an interview with an AEW talent that day. And I just got squeezed in. And like the only time I can make it is during the Fan Fest. So hopefully that all works out. And then immediately after that, I have to go do another interview with another talent, and I'll save that for later. A non-AEW talent. Well, actually, wait, no, I'm wrong. An AEW talent. Never mind. I will be doing that, and then after that, I'll have GCW at night, and then the following day, I have another interview with another talent, and then Double or Nothing, and then after Double or Nothing, the media scrum, and then after the media scrum, come back to Los Angeles. So on Monday is when I will be doing my AEW Double or Nothing post show. It'll be taking place on Monday here on F4W Online. So there, I think I got the schedule right. That's it for today. Guys, please show Wrestle Rumble some love. The description, all of their links are in the description box below. Tag them on Twitter. Let them know, hey man, we heard about you on Denise's show. Please, that would be like huge. Just so that they know, hey, they're getting their money's worth here by having me promote their show. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Bye, everyone.